When did a court-martial turn into a promotion ceremony? I found out when Specialist Jake Morrison faced charges for the biggest act of insubordination I'd ever witnessed. This was 2017 in Afghanistan. Our convoy hit an IED outside Kandahar. 3 vehicles destroyed, 6 soldiers wounded, including our medic. We were pinned down by sniper fire from a compound about 200 meters out. Lieutenant Davis, fresh from West Point, made the call to withdraw. Leave the wounded, call in air support, level the building. Standard procedure when you're outnumbered and taking casualties. Morrison had other ideas. Grabbed his aid bag and started crawling toward the burning Humvee where 2 guys were trapped. Davis ordered him to stop. Direct command. Morrison ignored him completely. "You do not abandon wounded soldiers," he yelled back. "I don't care what the manual says." Davis threatened court-martial. Morrison kept crawling. Spent the next 40 minutes under constant fire, pulling guys out one by one. Applied tourniquets, started IVs, kept them alive until the medevac arrived. All 6 wounded made it home. Morrison saved every single life that day, but he'd also directly disobeyed orders in front of the entire platoon. 2 weeks later, formal charges were filed. Article 92, failure to obey a lawful order. Article 86, absence from assigned duty. The works. Morrison was facing serious prison time. The trial started 3 months later at Bagram Air Base. Prosecution painted him as a rogue soldier who endangered the entire unit. Military discipline requires following orders, even unpopular ones. They had radio recordings of Davis giving clear commands, video footage of Morrison refusing to comply, witness testimony from a dozen soldiers. Open and shut case. Then Morrison's defense attorney started asking questions about rules of engagement, about the legal requirement to provide medical aid to wounded personnel, about what constitutes a lawful order. He called the medic Morrison had saved. Guy testified from his wheelchair about bleeding out in that Humvee, how Morrison's voice kept him conscious during the evacuation. Called the convoy commander who'd been unconscious during the firefight. He described waking up in a field hospital, learning that Morrison had carried him 200 meters while under fire. The defense presented something prosecution hadn't mentioned. Army Regulation 40501. Medical personnel cannot be ordered to abandon wounded soldiers without attempting evacuation. Morrison wasn't just a specialist, he was combat medic qualified. Davis had given an illegal order. Morrison was legally required to disobey it. But the real bombshell came when they played the full radio recording. Not just Morrison's refusal, but what happened next. Davis panicking, calling for immediate airstrike on his own position. Morrison had disobeyed that order too. Stayed calm, coordinated proper case vac, prevented friendly fire incident that would have killed everyone. The courtroom went dead silent. Panel of officers exchanged looks. Davis wasn't there to testify. He'd been quietly transferred stateside months earlier. Prosecution tried to salvage the case. Even if the order was questionable, Morrison's method of disobedience undermined military authority, set dangerous precedent. That's when Colonel Williams stood up. Ranking member of the court-martial panel, 25 years in the Army, 3 combat tours. He asked Morrison one question. "Specialist, if you face the same situation tomorrow, what would you do?" Morrison answered without hesitation. "Save my soldiers, sir. Whatever it takes." Colonel Williams nodded. Court is adjourned for deliberation. 30 minutes later, they returned. All charges dismissed. Furthermore, Morrison was being recommended for the Silver Star for conspicuous gallantry in action. But Williams wasn't finished. The Army needs NCOs who understand that leadership sometimes means making hard choices. "Morrison, you're promoted to sergeant, effective immediately." They pinned his stripes on right there in the courtroom. Same room where he'd expected to be sentenced to prison. Morrison's parents had flown in from Ohio thinking they were watching their son get convicted. Instead, they watched him get decorated and promoted in the same ceremony. Morrison stayed in the Army, made staff sergeant within 2 years, currently running combat medic training at Fort Moore. His first lesson is always about the legal and moral obligation to save lives. Davis never served in combat again. Last I heard, he was teaching ROTC at some college in Virginia. The 6 soldiers Morrison saved all completed their tours and made it home safely. Morrison keeps their photos on his desk, says they remind him why he became a medic in the first place, not to follow orders, but to bring people home alive.